The Culture Pop Podcast is brought to you by the law offices of Jacob and Ronnie.
Accident or injury, call Jacob and Ronnie. Call Jacob.
Hey, it's Mase. If you or a friend or loved one is injured in an accident, the first person you should call is my friend Jacob. When I did this, Jacob was great. He helped me by talking through the next steps, which really put my mind at ease. When you're injured in an accident, you got to have an expert. That's why you call Jacob, just like I did. Call Jacob, 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB, or visit calljacob.com.
Call Jacob.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Culture Pop Podcast. I'm Steve Mason along with Sue Kalinsky. This is the show where we talk pop culture, movies, TV, music, our lives, all that kind of stuff. And great guest today, it is Phil Rosenthal, who is the host of Somebody Feed Phil, a great travel and food show on Netflix. We've had Phil on before. He's very, very entertaining. Sue Baloo, what's happening this morning?
Well, I was freaking out this morning because I do the podcast in my office.
Right.
And my office closet doors are mirrors. And my dog, whenever he looks in the mirror, he whimpers because he thinks it's another dog.
Aw.
So I had to put a sheet up. So I feel like I'm sitting Shiva in my house. And he bought it. He's actually in his crate. He went in. He's been going into his crate by himself. So he's just sitting here with me, and hopefully he'll be quiet.
Yeah. Now my dog Ron watches TV, and whenever he sees a dog or any kind of animal on TV, he will bark at it. And by the way, and when they have those commercials where there's a doorbell,
yes.
Screw those people for putting a doorbell in the TV ad, because my dogs go nuts every single time. So stop doing that. So, Sue, we got Phil coming up, Phil Rosenthal, and I love his show. He's such an entertaining guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, leading up to it, let's talk about, in honor of Phil, the greatest meal we've ever had and the greatest trip we've ever had. So I don't know if those two things coincide for you. They're two different things for me. Are they two different things for you, or does the meal happen on the trip?
Well, the meal actually happened on my greatest trip. So,
okay. So tell me all about it.
It's such a difficult question to answer because I've had such great food in so many places. And, when I watch his show and he says, "This is the most amazing hamburger I've ever had," I've heard him say that, in other places. So, sometimes and you're in that moment and it's like, oh my God, this is the most amazing meal.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's in the moment. You're right.
Yeah. So, this coincides with my favorite trip. So I went to France some years ago, and there was not one meal that was bad. I mean, even in like an AM/PM market.
Right. That's the way it is in France. Yeah.
It's just fresh and delicious. So we went to this place in a section called the Marais, and it's very artsy area.
It's the gay area, I think.
Well, it may be the gay area, but it is very artsy, so it makes sense.
I would know where the gay area is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, it's really, really cool, and it's got somewhat of if you can have a bohemian feel in
Sure.
Paris, So
I think it's kind of like the West Village in Paris.
Yeah. It definitely is similar to that. So there was a restaurant called Anahi, and there was a dish called papillote, I think it's pronounced, Papillote, and it was a fish. I don't eat meat, so everybody was eating foie gras and like flipping out over it.
Love foie gras.
I know, and I don't eat it, but everybody said it was the most amazing foie gras they had ever had. And they give it to you in like a giant block.
Oh,
it's crazy.
good. So good.
So it was a halibut. It was just an amazing halibut dish. And, it was cooked simply with lemon and garlic and vegetables and capers and basil. And it was just tender and cooked to perfection. And that was one of the great meals that I had when I was there.
And was that trip to France your greatest trip?
It was my greatest trip. I went with another couple, a girlfriend of mine and her husband. My girlfriend I grew up with. I know her since kindergarten.
Wow.
And we met in France, and we spent 5 days in Paris, or 4 days in Paris, and then we rented a car and we drove through the entire country and ended in, we went down to Cap Antibes in the south of France.
Okay.
And then we worked our way back up and went to Normandy on the way back up, and Mount Saint Michel, and then went back to Paris. And it was just the most incredible trip.
Yeah, it is funny how in France, and by the way, the same goes for Italy. You buy a sandwich at the train station, and you're like, "Oh, fuck, this is good." It's just like so delicious. I don't know. They've got a handle on food there. All right. So my best meal was actually in Croatia. So Juan and I went down to this place that was sort of right on the sea. And it was a piece of fish that was absolutely perfect. Like yours, a piece of fish that was absolutely perfect and unbelievably fresh. And it was right on the sea, and we were sitting literally right at the water's edge, and it was like this cool patio situation, and there were people like swimming by. And you know how it is in the sea, how you float, you don't sink in the sea. So I'm looking at it. I haven't been in the sea yet, and so I'm looking at it and saying, boy, there are some great swimmers here. They are really, really good. And Juan says, well, there's a lot of salt in that water, and they're actually not floating on their own. I'm like, oh, shit, no wonder everybody is such a good swimmer in Croatia. So that was the best meal. Now, the best trip was summertime. I went to Cairo, Egypt. And Cairo, I went by myself, which is a little bit intimidating. So I wanted to see the pyramids, and I did. I went to the Giza plateau, and I was hardcore yoga at this point. And you can climb up the Great Pyramid a little bit. And I managed to do a headstand on the Great Pyramid. It was insane. The weird thing was I had to, the pictures exist. I had to ask somebody, hand my phone to a stranger, or a camera, I guess. That was the days of a camera. Hand my camera to a stranger to take the picture, but I've got all the pictures of me doing yoga poses on the Great Pyramid. It was fantastic.
So, but the surface is hard, and you did a headstand? Did you put anything underneath? Did you put anything underneath your head?
I was such a good yogi at this point. I really didn't even need anything under my head. I just did a perfect headstand. I was so psyched about it. And then from that trip, and by the way, so Cairo was super scammy. Everybody was, my good American friending me. My good American friend. I'll take you to the pyramid, and we go inside, and your third eye will open. I remember that guy saying that. He did this. The third eye, that's apparently the sound of the third eye opening.
Yes, as he steals your wallet.
Exactly. Hey, my money's gone. So, and I told this story actually on the air before, but this summarizes the trip to Cairo. So I'm at the airport in Cairo, and I hear this knock. I'm on the can, and I hear this knock on the stall door. And I realize at this point that there's no toilet paper in the stall. So the knock happens, and then I hear this voice. My good American friend, would you like to buy some toilet paper? And I'm like, my God, are you kidding me? Somebody's charging me for toilet paper. That kind of summarizes my experience in Cairo.
That is insane.
Yeah. But I went from there to sub-Saharan Western Africa. So I went to Ghana, which was unbelievable. I went with my minister and a bunch of people from my church, Agape. I used to go to church twice a week. I was really hardcore at that point. And we went to Ghana, and we went to the Cape Coast Castle near Accra, which is the door of no return for all the Africans who are being transported to North America for in the slave trade, and it was just you could feel it like psychically what that place was like and the trauma that took place. Have you ever been in that spot where you go somewhere where did you go to the
I went to Normandy, yes.
And did you have that same sense of all the trauma?
We went to Prague and we went to a concentration camp.
Oh, God.
So, walking around the town of Terezin, it was like, wow. I mean, and especially being Jewish, I was saying to Tom that, it wasn't that long ago that I could not be here.
That's right. So I went from Accra, Ghana to Dakar, Senegal, again with Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, or Dr. Reverend Mike. Which comes first, Doctor or Reverend? Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith or Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith?
I think it's interchangeable.
Anyway, he's a reverend and a doctor. I guess that's the bottom line. So we went to Dakar, Senegal. Fantastic. We volunteered at this church in Senegal for a day and helped. I think we helped clean up the church and do some work there, do some volunteer service. And then from there, I went to Sydney, Australia for the Olympics. This would have been 2000. And Sydney is, have you been to Australia?
No.
Oh, Sydney's so amazing. It's such a beautiful, beautiful city. And the Olympics, it was amazing. That was one of my favorite Olympics. That was my second favorite Olympics after Salt Lake, which turned out to be my favorite. But I got to, see all of Sydney. And by the way, I stayed for an extra week in Sydney. So this whole trip was probably 9 weeks long. It may be the longest trip I've ever had.
Wow.
From Cairo to Ghana to Senegal to Sydney. But the amazing thing at the very end of the trip, I would only tell this on the podcast. So the last night in Sydney, I hooked up.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, there was a lot of this going on in Sydney.
Had you tried to hook up in other places and it didn't happen, or you specifically only tried to hook up with someone in Sydney?
I only tried to hook up in Sydney. I was not trying to hook up like with my reverend doctor there in Ghana or in Senegal. So, or where my third eye was going to open. I did not try to hook up there either. But I did hook up in Sydney on my very last night, and I had a nice time, as I remember it.
Where was the guy from?
Met him in a gay bar in Sydney.
No, where was he from? Was he Australian?
He was Australian. He loved my accent. So anyway, I hook up on the last night, and then I fly home, and it is the same day,
right,
when I landed.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought was, can I hook up again? So I did it. I compromised my high level of standards a little bit, but I hooked up again, which meant that I hooked up twice on the same day on two different continents.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, is that a Guinness record somewhere?
I would imagine. It was not easy to do. The second, I mean, because then the pressure was on. I had to hook up again. So the pressure was on, but I managed to do it. And I had a nice time as I remember it.
Did you let that person know he was the second of the?
I did not.
Of the day.
You're number 2 today. Yeah, I did not. But that was my most amazing trip.
Well, one question I didn't get to ask you: How much did you pay for the toilet paper?
Oh,
do you remember?
Well, I think it was in Egyptian money. I want to say.
Okay.
I do not recall the amount of money that his good American friend paid for toilet paper, but I did pay.
I had the scariest experience. I did a USO tour with Ken over years and years ago. And we, the last part of the trip, we did a European tour, and we were in Germany, and we had, everybody went home, and we decided to take a train back to Amsterdam. We had only spent a couple of days in Amsterdam on our tour.
Okay.
So we were like, we got to go back and like really hang out there and get high and just have fun. So I'm in the train station, and I said, all right, I have to go to the bathroom. and I go into the bathroom, lock the door, go to the bathroom, and I try to get out, and I can't get out.
What?
And it's just a single room. I cannot open the door.
Oh, God. Is there anybody else in the room?
No, it's just one room. It's one bathroom.
One room, single room. Okay.
Single room. And I'm banging on the door. I'm going, help, help, help. And I'm jiggering the lock and trying. I was in there for 10 minutes freaking out. And Kenny wasn't anywhere near where I was. And I didn't have a phone with me. And somehow I just got out. And I almost had a heart attack. It was scary. Oh, my God. Well, relief in both ways. But It was the scariest moment.
You know, when I traveled by myself, I had those, maybe I was just young and dumb, but I had moments like that all the time, and I never got scared, or I tried to not get scared. And I think that's one of the reasons why I never got into trouble, is that I didn't have any fear when I was younger. I think if you're expecting something bad to happen, something bad will happen. And if you're thinking you're invincible, then nothing's going to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
But I never got trapped in the can like that. So before we get to...
Hopefully you won't.
Exactly. Before we get to Phil, I want to remind everybody, if you're listening on Apple, if you're listening on Spotify, the best thing you can do for us, Sue, is what?
Give us a review. Give us a like. Give us likes. Make up stuff.
Subscribe.
Just tell us how wonderful we are.
Yes, that's what I want to hear. Affirmation is like oxygen for me. Tell us how much you like us. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You can scroll down, leave a comment there. As Sue said, tell us how much you like us. We're excited about the new year. Things are clicking along. And our guest today is a producer. He's a writer. He's a director. He's a star. He co-created the long-running TV mega hit Everybody Loves Raymond. Now he has a long-running food and travel show called Somebody Feed Phil. Season 7 dropped on March the 1st on Netflix. He also has a new children's book. He's about to do a nationwide tour, all that stuff. Phil Rosenthal joins us. Phil, thanks a lot for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Where are you sitting and where is Sue sitting?
I'm in Venice, California.
Nice.
I'm in Long Beach, California.
Nice. Great.
Where are you, Phil?
Hancock Park.
Nice.
So we're all in the same general vicinity.
Exactly. So I got to tell you, I love Somebody Feed Phil.
Oh, thank you.
It's such a positive, happy show, which we need. And you're such a funny guy, and you're learning new cultures and new countries and new foods. I think there's a lot of joy in it, and I appreciate that.
The reason for that is because you're looking at the luckiest guy who's ever lived. That's how I feel. I wake up with that every morning. I've been around now a while. I have a career in show business over 30 years. And to get to do what I get to do, I mean, you can tell this is a lucky bastard when you look at me. And that's really how I feel. I don't take any of it for granted. By the way, I can't. I never know if this is the end. I never know if this is, again, another season or not. I don't feel like, I'm on a golden ride that I just get to take. It's hard to get renewed, especially in the streaming world today. So every episode is a gift to me, and I just love it.
Do you ever miss the sitcom writing world?
That's a great question. I would be very open to doing a sitcom again. And by the way, it's not for lack of trying. It's just that the business really changed in the 9 years that we were doing Everybody Loves Raymond. So they just wanted young, hip, edgy shows. And so I struck out a lot, which led me to pursue this dream of doing the food and travel thing and incorporating everything I know about how to make a show now in the service of everything else I love in life. Family, friends, food, travel, laughs. So there are, if you really look, there are sitcom elements in Somebody Feed Phil. And I have to say, the sensibility is kind of the same. It's the same brain behind both. It's kind of my Curb Your Enthusiasm. where Larry, he was behind the scenes and now he's authentically him in front of the camera. Except my show I would call Why Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Why curb it? Exactly.
Well, what I love about the show is that you incorporate people who work on the show, your brother and the crew.
Yep.
Recurring characters, which I take from sitcom world.
Which is the greatest thing. I did a pilot many years ago with Tom Green.
Yes.
And we, sadly it didn't get picked up, but it was a great show. And we did the same thing. His cameraman was a character. He would fight with him because he was his friend. He would fight with him. Yes. You're not giving me the right angle. He would come into Video Village and talk to the producers and ask, can I drink on the show? And it was just, and it was just hysterical and it was real.
Well, that's my brother and me. He's the producer of the show. He makes me jump in the cold water. He makes me do the thing I don't want to do. He put me in a race car. I went 187 miles an hour. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It's so violent. It looks like zoom, zoom, zoom around the track. No, it's horrible.
So who does all the research? Because you've got countries, and then you've got people, guides, and you've got restaurants. How does that all come together?
So we start with where would I like to go? That's true. Where and where do we think we could film for a weekend and not get bored? Is there enough to sustain a week of filming that we're going to cut down to less than an hour? And that's kind of it. I'll Google best place to eat in Reykjavik, right? Just like you, if you're going on vacation, and you never just go by one Yelp review, you have to cross-reference. And when this same restaurant or place starts popping up, you go, well, there might be something there. But then I have something that maybe you don't have, which is a production company in New York that cross-references me and suggests stuff to me. And they used to be Bourdain's production company. So they have it's on the ground in every country, because he was on it 18 years. So I get the full benefit of all that knowledge and experience. Sometimes they'll say, you don't need to go there because Bourdain did that. Or they'll say, you should do that because Bourdain did it. And we want to see how you like it. Right? So it's all, and then here's the most important thing. We leave room in the schedule for serendipity. We leave room, just as you should in your life and in your vacations. You shouldn't overplan, because we've all had that experience where we get to a place, we missed our flight, it's raining, it's cold, it's hot, whatever it is, let's just eat here. You're ducking in this corner place. Meal of your life. This happens. You have to be open to the experience. It's the best part.
Has there ever been a dish or a type of food that you didn't want to eat?
Oh, by the way, this is my question too, because you have these great reactions after you take a bite. Do you ever take a bite and think privately, I'm not sure, but you put that great smile on your face?
I am blessed or cursed with this face. I can't hide it. Now, people say it looks like you like everything. Yes, I like everything I put in the show.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
I don't want to, why? I have this limited amount of time to get you to travel. That's really the agenda of the show. The food and my stupid sense of humor is just the stuff to get you in, right? The real message of the show is, I think the world would be better if we all could experience a little bit of other people's experiences. And meeting new people and having an open mind is really the heart of the show. And trying to help a little bit too is also in there.
Yeah.
But we have to make the medicine go down, right? So it has to be delicious. It has to be entertaining, fun. I get it. It's all just same recipe for Raven. We could get whatever serious message we wanted in, as long as you laughed.
Yes.
Because you come to the thing to laugh. So I'm always going to be polite. But you'll see that. Nice. Good. Right? And you can tell when I really love it. And think I really don't like, I'm not putting in the show, unless it's so hilarious that I ate this entire 1,000-year-old egg in Hong Kong. And it wasn't the restaurant's fault. This is an ingredient. So you're not going to not go to that restaurant because of this thing. Just don't eat that thing. Or if I have I was in Oaxaca, And I'm sitting at the counter, I'm having a wonderful meal. And yet I know that what might be coming is iguana. Because that's the specialty of the restaurant.
Yikes.
And to my partner in the scene, I heard they have iguana. Do you going to have it if they bring it? Because I'm really nervous about it. She goes, I am too. I don't know if I want to eat iguana. And the chef hears us and goes, real life, oh, you'd like iguana? There it is. She points, and it's sitting on the counter over there. It's been blackened by the fire. A whole iguana, big curvy tail.
Yeah,
it's black, but I'm getting sick thinking about it. And the body, full body, and then the face like this. And I'm like, oh my God. I go, I don't know. And she goes, if you want the iguana, it will take another half hour to prepare. And I'm not proud of myself, but I said, oh, look at the time. Oh, the crew.
Perfect.
The crew has to. And okay, so I got out of that, right? Very clever. She goes under the counter. She goes, if you don't have time, how about this? And she pulls out a bowl. It's in the show of living, moving beetles.
Ooh.
Now, listen, I don't want to insult anybody's culture. God forbid I hurt someone's feelings. I never want to offend anyone. What flew out of my mouth at that moment was, oh, no, 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 no. And then I ran away.
Not a bad move.
Listen, I'm not Bourdain. Yeah, the way I sold the show was with one line. I said, I'm exactly like Anthony Bourdain if he was afraid of everything.
Right. Well, it's like Andrew Zimmern. I mean, he eats
not doing that.
The most bizarre, like goat
it's bizarre
testicles. I mean, it's just insane. I could never.
For him.
I went on a USO tour, Phil, to Dubai, and we got.
Yeah.
I know. I saw that episode, and we got picked up by Bedouins, and we drove into the desert, and they made us a meal.
Okay.
And they had a bunch of meat on a spit, and I just figured everything was chicken, And I eat the meal, and it's great, and then I find out that I ate goat, and it's not that bizarre. I mean, a lot of cultures do eat goat, but
I think
for
it's
me,
delicious, actually.
Yeah, it was delicious, but it kind of like, I can't believe I just ate a goat.
Because we have the picture in our head. Listen, most of the things, it's the idea. But here's what I tell people. Yes, I feel the exact same way. You have to get your head around it. But if we stopped and thought about milk, would we ever drink it? It's only because you're brought up with it like it's nothing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But let's think about it for a second, shall we?
So, my favorite episode from this year is the one where you went to Dubai.
Okay.
Because I know so little about
I didn't know about
Middle Eastern culture.
Yeah.
You had a taste of lamb, a lamb dish, and then you talked about being transported.
I know.
And you talked about how food can affect you emotionally. Describe that bite of lamb.
Okay, so I go in. This was almost a year ago now when we filmed this. By the way, you get to Dubai and you're like driving down the street. You're like, wow, this is like if Las Vegas had real money.
Yeah, really.
I mean, I don't know if I like this. I don't know. This is not my scene. It's all glitz and all brand new. And then I'm taken to the old part. And now you're seeing the culture. Now you're seeing that it's 80% or more immigrants who have that, just like, this is what makes the world go round. That line from Hamilton, immigrants, we get the job done.
Yeah.
That's what makes, to me, America great. That's what makes the world great. We're better as a species when we cross-pollinate. And it makes life interesting and fun and delicious. So I'm into it. And today, in that scene, we're going to a Palestinian woman's restaurant. And she's going to make you something called lamb kibbeneh with all the spices and the bulgur wheat that she all grounds by hand. And she mashes this up into raw lamb patties that you break off a piece and you put in a little wrap with a fresh piece of onion and thick. And it sounds like, not going to like this. It's raw lamb. Another thing you got to get your head around, right? But I ate raw hamburger meat as a child
Yeah.
that my mother would roll into balls and dip into salt, and that was like a snack.
Mm.
We didn't have a lot of money. And so I think it's not going to be that foreign to me. And the chef's daughter is sitting next to me, and she says, this is a magical dish or something. She gives me this story that sounds like baloney to me, but I'm game. You know, I'm going to taste anything that you give me. I take a bite of this, and it was like a special effect in a movie in your head. Suddenly, you're taken somewhere. I am not a woo-woo guy. I'm not spiritual. I don't believe in a lot of stuff. I believe what I see and what the facts are in science. Something happened. I feel like, I don't know, like those guys who saw a UFO, who didn't believe in UFOs until they saw one. Something happened. Magical. I got emotional even. I don't know why. It could have been I'm with a Palestinian lady, supposed to be my sworn enemy. It could be that this was so phenomenally delicious and that has happened where I welled up when something was so delicious, but there wasn't that. There is that, but this wasn't that. This was beyond that. I felt transported to another time or place or person. I don't know. Maybe to my mother. I don't know. I wish I could explain it better. But listen, isn't that great that some things are still unexplainable?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well,
Magic.
Yeah, you talk about, like the beaten path, these happy accidents that happened. I went to Mexico City many years ago with a friend, and when we were in the airport lounge waiting for our flight, we started talking. Well, the guy, he was Spanish, and he did not speak English at all. I speak broken Spanish. So we seemed to kind of get a conversation going. And we get on the plane, and he's sitting diagonally across from us, and just happens to be kismet that he sat where he sat.
Yes.
We get out, and we didn't know where we were staying. We didn't have a hotel. We only had one day before we went to Oaxaca. And he said that it was his mother's birthday. And do you want to come to my house? That's how I kind of got that from our conversation. We go and we walk in. It's a like a brownstone. And we walk in through the garage. And I just figure he doesn't speak English. No one in his family speaks English. We walk in, and we walk ahead of him.
Yeah.
Two American women walk in, and there's a group of like 5 people there. His mother looks like a movie star, just beautiful. And she's like, "Hi, how are you?" She says, "This must be Jose Cho, her son. This was his thing."
Yeah.
We sit down and we have a conversation, and she brings out chopped liver. Okay.
Amazing.
And I look at her and I said, and I almost started crying.
Yep.
And I said, "You don't understand." I said, "I'm a Jewish girl from New York. I'm in Mexico City. By happenstance, I end up in your house on your birthday, and you're feeding me chopped liver." And I get the chills just thinking about it. It was the most incredible experience.
Now, what was her connection to chopped liver?
She just liked chopped liver. I don't remember her actually telling, but she did have friends. She had friends who were from New York who were there.
Uh-huh.
And the couple had a daughter that worked at the UN.
Uh-huh.
So it could have been a New York connection with her friends.
Did chopped liver taste exactly like chopped liver that you were used to, or
exactly?
It
didn't feel like it had any kind of Mexican influence.
I know, but the when you have tacos and they carve the meat off the trompo, the big rotating spit. Do you know that's because Middle Eastern visitors came to Mexico, and that shawarma was made with lamb in the Middle East, and in Mexico they have pork, so they did the same exact thing but with pork. I love those connections.
Yeah.
So you were talking about that bite of lamb, and I was thinking, we were talking before you got here about like the greatest trips of our lifetime. And one of the things I said was I was at the Cape Coast Castle in Accra, Ghana.
Yeah.
And I think there are times you can feel something. You said you're not a spiritual guy necessarily. You're not a woo-woo guy.
I think so. I feel connections with people, that I get. But go ahead. Sorry.
So I was going to say, so I felt something there. I felt like the weight of history. I felt like sort of the trauma of what went on there, that kind of stuff. And I saw you sitting out in public for Ramadan and breaking your fast.
The iftar is the breaking of the fast every night. Yeah.
And again, I know so little about Islam. Do you describe sort of what it was like there? And did you have kind of a sense of spirituality that came from that?
You can't not. For any giant religious ceremony, if you take part in it, you start to understand the pull of it. You may not believe in the religion behind it, but you understand its effect on other human beings, and that can't help but affect you. So when you're sitting with thousands of people in the street, and the calls to prayer are happening all around you, not just from one mosque, but from many mosques all around, it's gorgeous. Everyone doing the same thing at the same time, peace, love, sitting together, eating together.
Yeah.
Gorgeous thing.
Yep.
Do we need the religious thing behind it even? That's to be discussed.
Yeah.
But whatever the reason is, I don't care. The fact that we are doing this is religious enough for me. A religious experience for me.
Sure.
And it's absolutely gorgeous. I think I say in the show, I feel like I'm part of something huge. How can you not?
Yeah, there's a connectedness that comes from that, right?
Yeah. I think it's why there is organized religion. Because people want to feel a connection. Not just to whatever God they believe in, but to each other, to other people, to organize together and sit in one place and do the same thing and know the same song.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things I've talked about a lot is that I think, fewer people go to church now than used to go to church. And
church is not a Taylor Swift concert.
Exactly. But a Taylor Swift concert, there are fewer and fewer places where we all get together under the same roof and share a collective experience. People don't go to the movies as much as they used to. People do go to Taylor Swift concerts. But there's that communal experience that I think is just good for the soul and good for the heart. You know what I mean?
Imagine if you're a 12-year-old girl and you feel lonely, but you listen to Taylor Swift every day in your room and her songs mean something to you. And you go with 80,000 people in a stadium and your hero comes out and not just you, but everyone around you knows every word of that song.
Yeah,
is that not a religious experience for you?
Yeah.
Do you not cry and scream?
This 59-year-old man had an experience there too at the Taylor Swift concert. It was amazing.
Like a daughter? Did you what? Or you just?
No, I took my partner is a huge Taylor Swift fan. He would be a Swiftie. And you're right. There is something about everybody singing the lyrics of the song with her.
I get it from Bruce Springsteen. That's mine.
Sure.
Bruce Springsteen. I saw in 1980. I wept.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
I get it. We all have it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
So you have... Oh, go ahead, Sue. I'm sorry.
No, what I wanted to say is what I marveled the most about the show and what I've learned from the show is how... And what I appreciate so much is that different cultures of chefs have landed in cultures that are not their own. And, you wouldn't think that you would go to Scotland and have like amazing Italian food. You know what I mean? It's
incredible. Like the best shawarma I ever had is in Glasgow.
Mm.
Why? Because the Syrian man came to Glasgow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But there are restaurants here. Now, they're not like gourmet restaurants, but when I go into if I go into a restaurant that serves Chinese food, and they have pizza on the menu. They're trying to make just pizza, there's no Asian influence. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So anyway,
listen, it's either going to work or it doesn't work, right? It's either going to be the best you ever had, and holy cow, like there's an Indian place here in LA that does Italian food. So it is an Italian-Indian mashup. And a lot of the dishes are crazy delicious. Like a rigatoni with chicken tikka masala on.
Yeah. Hey, last thing for you, because I'm being told you've got a heart out. So I want to get this in. You've got a new children's book called Try It that you've done with
Just Try It.
Lily. Just Try It.
I wrote with Lily. Yeah, my daughter. Yeah.
So where'd that idea come from?
Lily said, kids like the show. You're good with the kids. You should write a kid's book. I said, yes, Lily, if you write it with me. And it's about a dad who eats everything and his little girl who won't eat anything.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm very proud of the book. I think it's not just for little kids. I think it's for their parents, too. How many grown-ups do we know won't try anything new? It's about having an open mind.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'd like to plug today is I'm starting a 25-city U.S. tour.
Yeah.
And it's a live show. I tell funny stories about my 30-plus years in the business leading up to and including Somebody Feed Phil. There's Q&A with the audience. 100 people get a meet and greet. And if you go to philrosenthalworld.com, you can see the tickets, get the tickets. I'm coming. I want to see everybody.
Awesome.
Great.
Let everybody know. Season 7 of Somebody Feed Phil is now streaming on Netflix. Your children's book, Just Try It, is out now. And your national tour for An Evening with Phil Rosenthal starts in Albany on April the 11th.
That's it.
Okay, I know you have to leave, but I just have to say that I'm going to write a book called Eat It or Up to Bed.
By the way, Just Try It. I lived in a house where I had to just finish it.
Okay.
Just finish it.
It's the Orthodox version.
Yes.
Just Try It is the Reform version.
Phil, know you're a busy guy. We appreciate you making time for us, and we'd love to have you back.
I can't wait to come back, and let's all eat sometime.
Yes, let's do it.
Yes,
share our meal.
absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Phil.
Bye, Phil.
There he is, Phil Rosenthal. What I would love to have a show like that, Sue. You could produce a show with me going to different... Could you not?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I could not do it as well as Phil. Phil's got that smile. He takes a bite of something and it's just like, you know it's good. You know it's good.
Well, what would be cool to do it with a little bit of would do it with a sports bent. Not that you're going to stadiums, because I think they've done shows like that.
Yeah, they've done that.
But you could always meet athletes from different countries, who play in different sports.
That is genius.
And you go and you meet with them and you talk sports and then you have meals.
Yeah. So it's like Churrascaria with Neymar, that kind of thing. Oh, that's a great pitch. Don't steal this, because we're going to do it. You're watching, if you're listening. There you have it. There's your Culture Pop podcast for today. Thanks again to Phil Rosenthal. Great show, really fun show. It's on Netflix. Somebody Feed Phil. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being out there. We'll see you next time on the Culture Pop podcast.